Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of This Week in Magic Online Finance. I'm Chaz Andres, and as always, let's get started with the news. Now, the biggest story this week is almost certainly the fact that we are now into the first week of Throne of Eldraine preview season, and so far, the set looks pretty good. Granted, Standard doesn't really affect prices much on MTGO these days, what with Arena and all that, but I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see some cards start to tick up as we start to see what cards and strategies are going to be pushed in Throne of Eldraine. And first up, we've got Knights, especially Black and White Knights, because the set does seem to be pushing that theme, and who knows, it could end up being competitively playable. Cavalier of Night, spelled N-I-G-H-T, is actually a knight, the kind spelled with a K, and it started to tick up a bit. I also don't hate Knight of the Ebon Legion, and both of these cards are really interesting penny stock specs, cards that are a ticket or less. They're in Core Set 2020, so there aren't that many copies out there, and they started to tick up over the past couple of days. So if you're the kind of person who plays even a decent amount of Standard, I'd start grabbing playsets of these Knights just in case. In other pretty important news, we now know the identity of the next 4 sets after Throne of Eldraine. This winter, we're going back to Theros. Then we're going to visit a new plane called Ikoria. Then in the summer, of course, it's Core Set 2021. And next fall, we are returning to Zendikar. Of course, the only question anybody ever has for me after hearing this news is, enemy fetch lands, are they coming back? Are we getting them back in Standard in Zendikar next fall? Should I sell my fetch lands now? Fetch land, fetch land, fetch land, fetch land. Honestly, my guess is no. The last time we had fetch lands in Standard, it warped the format's mana considerably, and it added a lot of shuffling time to the game, and WotC seemed unhappy about both of those things. Plus, if you look at their design philosophy right now, it's more about selling sets on the back of original cards instead of high-velocity reprints. Think about Modern Horizons and how many reprints it didn't have, or Commander 2019, which had very powerful new cards but not a lot of interesting reprints. And yeah, I don't think fetch lands will be back in the new Zendikar set in the fall. Plus, I'm not going to sell my fetch lands now, a year away from this set, on the off chance that I might be able to buy in cheaper then. So yeah, I'm ignoring this one for now, and if somebody wants to sell you their fetch lands at a considerable discount, I'd buy. Let's move on now to Gaining Ground, where in Standard it was the green mythic from War of the Spark, Finale of Devastation, climbing 6 tickets from 16 up to 22. Now, this card has been as high as 33 tickets in the past, and it hasn't really dropped below the 15 ticket mark or so since it started seeing significant play in Modern. The reason for this price spike is pretty simple. Devoted Devastation did really well at SCG Dallas last weekend, and overall I've seen more and more of these Devoted Druid combo decks since the Hogak ban in Modern. Because of that, I wouldn't be surprised if this card at least maintains its value going forward. It might continue to increase in price. I'm a little bit nervous because, War of the Spark is about to end its set redemption period, but this card has not dropped below 15 tickets in a while, and I don't expect that to change. Let's move over to Modern now, where the biggest gainer of the week was Wrenn 6, which gained another 20 tickets, climbing from 120 all the way up to 140. So yeah, remember when I said that any Modern card is going to have a problem maintaining a price tag even at the 100 ticket mark, much less gaining ground beyond that? Yeah, Wrenn 6 has bucked that trend and it continues to gain. In fact, its price chart as of this moment is still pointing up, as it has been for quite some time now. Look, at some point Wrenn 6 is going to come crashing down. Either Wrenn 6 will be released in treasure chests, or people will kind of move on from Modern due to the format stagnating or just excitement about Standard, or both, or some third thing. And I'm not even saying that Wrenn 6 can't continue to gain. It may hit 160, it may hit 180, it may hit 200. All I'm saying is that selling at 140 is the high probability play. Of course, selling at 100 was also the high probability play, so take that for what it's worth. I'm not saying you can't continue to buy this card, or that you won't make money if you continue to buy this card. I'm just saying that more likely than not, this one will be back under 100 tickets at some point this year. Let's move on to our biggest loser now, where in Standard we have a doozy. It was Teferi Time Raveler, dropping 14 tickets from 47 all the way down to 33. And this is one of those crazy MTGO roller coasters. Just a week ago, we were talking about this card as it doubled in price from 25 all the way up to 50, and now it has lost almost all of that value over just a couple of days. So what happened here? Well, there are three major factors at play, and I think it's worth covering them one at a time. First, it was always going to see some regression because the spike was in part due to hype about the Stoneforge Mystic on ban. People were going wild for Stoneforge cards, anything that might see even a little bit of play with Stoneforge was spiking like mad, and there's always going to be regression from those cards. That's just a fact of life. Whenever any card is unbanned in Modern, things that play well with it go right up to the moon, and then a lot of them sort of level off or drop afterward when people realize, yeah, okay, this card is good, but maybe it's not the best card in the world. Second, Stoneforge Mystic did not have a high finish at SCG Dallas last weekend. I still think the deck is pretty well positioned going forward, but that cooled a lot of people on Stoneforge's potential. And third, War of the Spark is ending its set redemption guarantee next week. It may continue to be available for redemption beyond that, but there are no guarantees. And a lot of people may be feeling a little gun-shy about holding, 50 tickets in a card that's value is about to hit, I don't know, maybe it'll go off a cliff, maybe it won't, we don't know. These set redemption guarantee dates hit, and a lot of times cards will drop pretty hard. That's what happened to Arclight Phoenix. So here's the thing. I still really like Teferi Time Raveler long term. I think it is going to be one of the pillars of Modern going forward. But I said last week that I wouldn't touch it at current retail then, and I still probably wouldn't touch it at current retail now. It's just too volatile. I wouldn't be surprised if there were more crazy swings, 10 tickets up, 10 tickets down, who knows, over the next month or so. So here's what I'm doing. I'm staying away from Teferi at the moment. I'm going to wait for the set redemption window to end. I'll give it a couple more days to bottom out, and then I'm going to buy in for the long term. Let's move on now to our biggest loser in Modern, which this week was Stoneforge Mystic, dropping 5 tickets from 12 down to 7. Also, coincidentally, Batterskull, also dropping 5 tickets from 12 down to 7. And gang, I really do believe that the Stoneforge Mystic was overrated narrative is itself being overblown. Yeah, okay, the deck maybe didn't finish so high at SCG Dallas, but if you look at its conversion rates, it actually had a pretty good tournament. Stoneforge has also had a decent tournament on several MTGO events since then, so I really do believe in this card. I think it is going to be good going forward, and I think its price is going to rebound. At current retail, I'm definitely a buyer in this card. Just remember that both Stoneforge Mystic and Batterskull did have MTGO promos with fairly high circulation rates, so don't expect anything too wild. As always, we're going to end the week by taking a look at the MTGO Trader sales data over the past 7 days. And this gives us a great sense of which cards are buying and selling the best right now, regardless of price increases or decreases. Looking at overall sales by volume, the thing that jumps out at me this week is that Stoneforge Mystic still sold really well despite the massive drop in price. And this just has me doubling down on the prediction I just made. Look, this card was 4 tickets before being unbanned in Modern, it's at 7 tickets now. That is not enough of a difference. This card is going to be above the 10 ticket mark again soon, and these sales numbers just back up the price that this card is a buy at current retail. In terms of overall sales by price, you might be surprised to learn that there's a lot of people still buying Wrenn 6 despite having to take out a second mortgage on their home in order to do so. I'm still too gun-shy to buy this one at 140 tickets, but a lot of players out there, they apparently disagree with me. Its sales volumes are roughly in line with what they have been for months despite the massive price increase, which puts this one at the top of our sales by price list by a pretty wide margin. Beyond Wrenn 6 are a couple of really interesting Modern staples that I haven't had a chance to talk about yet this weekend. They're from a deck called 4-Color Urza, which won SCG Dallas last weekend. Now, people really aren't surprised that this has been happening. People were buying into Urza staples before Kogak was even banned in Modern because of how clear this deck was going to be in Modern's new top tier. But those Dallas results, they really cemented this deck's status as a deck to beat in the format. To that end, among this week's best sellers were Mishra's Bauble, Urza himself, Force of Negation, and Mox Opal. All 4 of these cards were really hot sellers this week, and all 4 of them gained at least 10 tickets. So yeah, this deck is legit, the market is sizzling, and it's going to keep rising in price for at least the next week or two as people are continuing to focus on Modern after the Hogak ban. Enjoy this wild and successful Modern market while it lasts. And that's all I've got for you this week. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Chaz Andres, and I will see you again next Monday morning for another episode of This Week in Magic Online Finance.